With the DJ.
They say hip hop is dead. I'm here to resurrect me.
Yo, Lauren, line up the video. Yo, Lauren.
Okay, so you're known for your mixtapes being the best of. Where did you come up with that concept?
I mean, honestly, it really was just a matter of me, you know, whether it's a best of mixtape or any other mixtape, it's all about finding the best little bits and pieces from everywhere and putting it together in a way that tells a story and makes sense. And, you know, people that, I never look to mixtapes as my model, I look to albums. And like, if you had albums like a Tribe Called Quest or a De La Soul album, or an Outkast, you know, it had a concept and you put it in and it played from start to finish. The best of thing just came out of me paying respect to the artists that are my favorites and really wanted to do them justice. You know, like if I'm going to do a best of Nas, my highlight was when I went on tour with Premier and he told me he keeps that CD in his changer, in his car, and I was like, wow, like that's crazy. And from there, it's just about, you know, like finding people who are like-minded, the Roots, Big Daddy Kane, you know, Lauryn Hill, and paying respect to the artists that I feel like don't necessarily get that kind of attention. Maybe they, you know, Mary J. Blige gets a huge amount of attention, but, you know, a different take on that.
You brought up the Roots, and I was speaking with Homeboy Sandman earlier, and he said he knows you for your best of Roots album, and he said he thought he knew every Roots song until he picked up your album. We were talking about Homeboy Sandman. He's a big fan of yours because of the Roots album. Learned some tracks that he wasn't aware of. Told me about your iTunes show. Tell me about that.
Basically, I have a radio show sponsored by Toyota Scion. It's online at scion.com/channel14, and that show also got picked up by iTunes Radio. So you can, you know, go in through iTunes through the radio function, and it's called True Elements Radio. True Elements is my company. And basically, you know, what it grows out of is, you know, in part the problems with the mixtapes, you know, legal issues and whatnot. And it's just a free forum for me to play whatever I think is hot. In January, Sandman, actually one of his tracks, Air Raid, I used that.
I like that one.
That's going to be on. That's going to be on the radio show as well. So basically, you know, the radio show is something that Toyota Scion, you know, hooked me up with. They send me out on a lot of tours and they sponsor the show. And you know, like it's just another avenue for reaching the people. You know, mixtapes have evolved. And you know, now, like I was saying a second ago, you know, we give some stuff away to sort of entice people. I did a track with Q-Tip. It came out on Election Day. You know, by the following week, I have 40,000 downloads, and you know, by the end of the month, like 75,000 people on my site. But the people that know enjoy, and that's all I really care about. So.
Okay. Briefly, can you tell me about the Q-Tip collabo?
Came out of basically Q-Tip hearing my mixtapes. You know, all of the artists that I work with, it grew out of them hearing something I did for somebody else and appreciating, you know, the time and energy I put into it. And you know, ran into Q-Tip. He asked me to do this tape, and I was honored. He's one of my favorite, you know, MCs of all time. Favorite producers as well. Most people don't, you know, like they sleep on his production skills. But the mixtape was originally meant to showcase his involvement in a wide variety of you know, corners of hip hop. Nas producing for, you know, different artists. Crooklyn Dodgers Part 1, you know, Primo did Part 2. And basically, I took it to a bunch of different artists and asked them if they wanted to contribute. And the next thing I knew, I had a crazy all-star lineup of Questlove, Black Thought, De La Soul, Talib Kweli, Busta Rhymes. All these people are people who are fans of Q-Tip, and so they, you know, they agreed to participate in the mixtape, and it's going to be bananas, you know. Those few people who don't know will know when that's done.
Right before I heard about the Q-Tip collabo, I heard about the Tony Hawk soundtrack. What was it for the Nintendo DS?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
You know, that grew out of a couple things. One is a relationship that I had with a guy at Rhino Records who left and went to join Activision. He just started feeding my CDs to the music department over there. They liked it. They had a particular taste for what I did with Game Rebellion, which is this punk rock hip hop band from Brooklyn. and they wanted a rock hip hop, kind of blend for the skater crowd. And so I spoke to the guitarist from Game Rebellion, Yohimbe Samson, big up. Basically, a keyboardist, Jesse Blum, also wanted to go into the studio and try to create that vibe. And it was quite an honor because Activision had never hired a producer to do the whole soundtrack. They usually just license songs. So, that was my first step into video games, and hopefully,
it won't be the last.
So there's a site called Herfection.com. It's pretty popular. It's very popular, actually. Her name is Heather. Heather had a few questions all the way from North Carolina.
Okay.
She wanted to know how long it took to compile the Lauryn Hill double CD.
That's a very good question. It actually took over a year to put it together for a lot of reasons. One was that when I started, I didn't have Lauryn Hill's involvement yet. I pretty much wanted to do it independently. I had a lot of respect for her as an artist. And the process by which I came together with her took a long time. It also took a long time because no one had heard from Lauryn Hill in a while, and I really wanted to do her justice. I had to dig for interview clips and records that had never come out and all that kind of stuff. And by the time I was done, it had been over a year. I met Mulaney, who was her brother, and I said, J Period. He said, oh, you're J Period. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I've been wondering, man, like who you were, because my sister has had your CD in the kitchen CD player for over 2 months and she won't take it out. And I was like, wow. So that was obviously huge. That was the first reaction I got. The next reaction I got was that she had become a fan of my work and ended up asking me to go on tour with her. So I ended up going on tour with Lauryn Hill in 2005 on the strength of that CD. So that definitely was an endorsement.
Would you want to see her return?
I would love to, but I think the reality is that it has to be in a way that she's comfortable with. And I think that to date, nothing has unfolded, in a way that makes her comfortable with the idea of coming back.
Puff took a liking to your Biggie mixtape. Why yours among many?
I think because, for one, I'm really trying to stay true to the artist. For me with Biggie, it's just musically, I would close my eyes and, Premier said like he hears things in his head, and honestly, I'm no DJ Premier, but I just hear this stuff in my head, and I would hear a beat and think, wow, Biggie would kill that, or I would hear an acapella and I'd be like, you know what, that just makes me feel like this. And it was really about putting together a puzzle, and at the end of the day, like that's probably my favorite because Biggie, every single verse he spits is ridiculous. So if you take ridiculous beats and you combine it with ridiculous, verses, like the product can't help but be ridiculous.
She also mentions that the artwork is similar to the T.I. Paper Trail, which came out a few years later. Did you notice that? Do you have any views on that?
I actually did the artwork for the Biggie CD myself. I also do graphic design. So I did see that. I mean, taking a silhouette isn't really groundbreaking. For me, there was something about that image of Big that was just iconic, like the Che Guevara type of image, and that's what I wanted, because like I really look at him as an icon on that level. My favorite Primo track is Nas' New York State of Mind. I cannot express how much that just transports me to another place. Like, it's like, if I close my eyes, I'm in New York in the streets, just walking around in the concrete, and just it's gritty and grimy, and it just feels like something. And I have just an association with that song. There's so many, it's impossible to name. But I have to say New York State of Mind is my favorite.
Okay. What can we expect from J Period in 2009?
Wow. I mean, a lot. Honestly, right now, the first thing is going to be this Best of Q-Tip mixtape. I also have a project I'm doing with Joel Ortiz, who I'm a big fan of. I have a couple other in the works with Kweli. I spoke to De La Soul about doing something. And, on the mixtape front, we'll see how it goes. It's a changing world, but I think definitely pursuing more of the video game stuff. I did a couple movie trailers last year, American Gangster and Street Kings, and I would like to pursue more of that. And honestly, just trying to find an avenue that will allow me to do what inspires me, and not do it because I'm getting paid to do it. That's my rule.
It's the 10 crack commandments. Man can't tell me nothing about this coke. Can't tell me nothing about this crack, this weed, my hustling niggas. Niggas on the corner, I ain't forget you niggas. Triple B niggas.